no one will outwork me.
He's getting 3-4 hours of sleep, 2 hours of sleep.
My entire life is work. This podcast is work. I mean,
work is constantly and endlessly work for it. And
you're supposed to suffer. You're supposed to eat pain for breakfast. You're supposed to.
I cannot listen to this anymore. I have spent the past 3 months non-stop watching content about business and productivity from some of the most influential and successful people on this platform. And even though I have tried everything in order to implement their sometimes unrealistically seeming advice about work and productivity, I still failed. So after watching so much content from these really successful people, I noticed that every single time I watched a video from them, instead of feeling inspired and motivated, I just kept feeling more and more guilty and lazy and like I'm just not good enough, to be honest. I always felt like compared to the advice that my role models gave me on the internet, I could never be as productive as them, I could never achieve as much as they did in a day, and ultimately I just started to feel more and more guilty and like I'm a failure and even a sinner for watching Netflix at 11 p.m. on a Sunday night instead of working even more. And so after deciding to take a break from all of this productivity content, I now came up with a more realistic 5-step system, a better system that now allows me to work way less but achieve way more in a day than I ever did when I was working 10-hour days, 12-hour days, or even 16-hour days. Without any further ado, let's start the video. Okay, so I want to start this video with an analogy. Imagine that you're a vacuum cleaner. You have a 10 square meter area to clean today. I don't know how many feet is that for you Americans out there, but just imagine that you have like a relatively big room to hoover today. So you're a vacuum cleaner, you wake up in the morning, and right after waking up, you jump into hoovering. You diligently hoover, you keep hoovering, but then you realize that you're actually not getting anything done. And why? Because you forgot to plug in the vacuum cleaner. You can hoover all you want, you can out hoover all of the other vacuum cleaners out there, but if you're not plugged into the electricity, you're not gonna get any real work done. And you are the same. Most people today have what is called the busyness bias. Busyness bias is a belief within people that just because we are very, very busy with tasks, we're constantly doing something, that means that we are getting a lot of things done and that we're very, very productive. This is actually a myth. The truth of the matter is that the actual result of our efforts has very little to do with how long we have been working. Busyness bias makes people believe that we have to be working every single minute of the day. We can never stop because in order to be successful, we have to push ourselves to the edge of exhaustion, we have to outwork everybody else, we have to work until we drop basically, because that's how we are taught to succeed in today's society. But let me tell you from experience, that's not how you succeed. That's how you're going to just destroy your own health and kill yourself basically. I'm going to give you another example to why working more is not always the answer. Remember back to a time where you had to get something really long and annoying done. It might have been a work project, it might have been a dissertation that you had to do for university, but no matter how long you kept working on it, you just felt like you're not progressing at all. You spent hours and hours trying to figure out a problem, but you didn't get any further. If this has happened to you before, you also probably remember that when you just decided to finally give it up, stop working on it, go and do something else, when you just let it go basically, when you then came back to work the day after, everything just suddenly started to flow. The ideas came to you easily. You suddenly just had all of these realizations and you get so much work done in just a couple of hours than you did in all of those days of trying to push it and work on it and just keep going even though you weren't going anywhere. You know, when you have these aha moments, when you just get a light bulb moment, when you just have a sudden realization about something. Neuroscientists call this the DMN, or your brain's default mode network, which is a network of brain regions that are activated when your mind is at rest and in a relaxed state. The DMN is responsible for many things, but one of my favorite things that this brain region agent does is that it allows our brain to engage in spontaneous and associative thinking. When you are tuned out from the outside world, when you're not thinking of anything in particular, the DMN in your brain starts to come alive and it starts to make these random connections between seemingly unimportant informations in your brain in order to come up with new ideas, new innovative solutions to your problems that you could have never thought about before on your own. So I wanted to start this video with this because I feel like sometimes the people who watch this type of productivity content on YouTube are people who always want to achieve more. It's the people who always ask themselves like, what can I do more? How can I achieve more? What should I do to be better at productivity? And the truth of the matter is that sometimes there's not much that you can do. You've already done everything. You have worked all the hours that you could. You have pushed yourself to the edge. So there isn't much more that doing will do for you. What you simply have to do now is to be. Try being a human being, not a human doing. Just be. Sometimes when we feel really stuck or overwhelmed, the best thing to do is to just stop all the doing. To just stop doing and let our brain, our DMN, come up with the solutions for us. Your subconscious mind is a lot smarter than you think. Your subconscious mind already has all the informations. It's already making all the connections. It's doing all the work behind the scenes. So what you can do in order to help this process of figuring things out is to stop the doing. Stop doing. Let your brain help you. When everything you do with action fails, start being. So the other day I was watching a video from Alex Hormozy titled "Hard Work Won't Make You Rich." In this video, he was basically talking about why it's not the amount of hours that you work that will determine your success, but it's the input that goes into the system that has the most leverage to create the most output that does.
Waking up early doesn't matter. Going to bed late doesn't matter. Not sleeping a lot doesn't matter. The few things that matter are the inputs that go into the system that have the most leverage to create the most output. You look at what they spend their time on and you see which of these activities are low leverage. Is there anyone else in this org chart that we can hand these activities to? And if a large percentage of these activities are a certain type of thing and they don't exist in the org chart, then it's a role that we need to hire. When people are like, I can't be outworked, you're bragging about the wrong thing. No one can outwork me. It's just an irrelevant activity metric.
It's not how many hours you can work in a day that will determine if you're gonna be successful or rich or not, but it's working on the tasks that has the biggest leverage and the biggest impact on your work and career or studies that does. Always prioritize working on the things that will have the biggest impact on your goals. Honestly, this is just task prioritization one-on-one, but I think a lot of us can still get very, very busy and overwhelmed because we just take on too many things just for the sake of being busy, just because we think that's how we are productive. Sometimes when we take on too many tasks, we actually forgot to ask ourselves which are the things that we are doing in a day truly matter. If you really want to get good at task prioritization, just ask yourself each day, out of all the things I have to get done today, which are the 3 things that will make the biggest change in bringing me closer to my goals? Focus on those 3 things and either delegate the tasks that are less important to someone else to work on, or try to get them done after you're done with your 3 main tasks. We all only have 24 hours in a day. Truth to be told, even the 24 hours that we have in a day are not all equal. According to research, the things that we should work on in our peak concentration hours, which are usually from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. for most people, should be our most important and most highly prioritized tasks. This approach is also known as the eating the frog approach that was first popularized by personal development expert Brian Tracy, basically saying that we should always complete our most challenging, most complex tasks first thing in the morning. Now, I also understand that human biology is very complex. I personally cannot, for the sake of God, wake up early in the morning. I tried, I just cannot focus very well in the morning. And so over the years, I just accepted my own biology, and I just accepted to work within the framework of my own biology. If you don't know when your own peak concentration hours are, I really recommend you to check out this app called Rise. And this is not a sponsored video. It is basically an app that allows you to determine your peak concentration hours based on when you go to sleep and when you wake up. You just put in when you wake up, you put in when you go to bed, you put in if you have any sleeping troubles. The app does the rest for you. To be honest, I am still on the free version of the app, but even with the free version of the app, I get notifications every single day when it's time for my peak concentration hour, when my attention is most likely to be decreased. And so it's a really helpful tool to try to figure out when you can focus best. I really recommend Rise. Long story short, if you want to work in accordance with your own biology, just make sure that you use your peak concentration hours working on your 3 most important high leverage tasks, and then either delegate the rest of your tasks to somebody else or try to use the hours when you're a little bit less focused, working on the things that are not that important. Let's just put it that way. Let's talk about time. Time is the most valuable resource that people have in the 21st century. Time is also an equal, universal resource that we all have the same amount of. 24 hours per day, 168 hours per week, 730 hours per month, and 8,760 hours per year. The only question is, how do you spend all this time? Now, there are 2 big categories that people use to think about time. We could either look at time as scarce, time being a limited, scarce resource that we only have a very limited amount of, which is definitely the more stressful way to think about time. Or we could think of time as abundant. We could think of all the possibilities that we could do with all the time we have. Scarce, abundance. Scarce, abundance. The difference between successful and unsuccessful people is that successful people decided to make time their friend. Unsuccessful people are constantly blaming time for their lack of success. I don't have enough time to do that. I'm already busy as it is. I don't have time to work on my side hustle. And they just let time slip away from their hands. I used to stress about time a lot as well. I used to think that time was very scarce. I never had enough time to do all the things I wanted to do. But then I came across this book, 168 Hours. You Have More Time Than You Think by Laura Vanderkam. And Laura Vanderkam in her book basically talks about the concept of the 168-hour perspective. Laura encourages us to look at the 168 hours that we all have in a week, track and analyze how we spend our time, keeping a time diary, and see where our time is being wasted or underutilized. Time is not the issue. It's the things that we spend our time doing that is the issue. And this goes back to what I said about prioritizing tasks, because if we spend our 168 hours in a week doing things that don't make a lot of sense for us in order to achieve our goals, we will feel like time is running out. The trick to time management is just to look at what you spend your 168 hours on doing per week and just cutting out the things that add absolutely no value to your life goals. And I call these things the time wasters. So time wasters for me are things that I am not obligated to do, I'm not getting paid to do, I'm not passionate about doing, and are not nurturing neither my personal relationships, neither my health, neither my personal development. I'll give you an example. Working out. I'm not obligated to do it. I am not really passionate about doing it either. It's not nurturing my personal relationships, unless I go with someone else, of course. But on the contrary, it's nurturing my health and my personal development. So working out, for me, personally, is not a time waster. On the contrary, scrolling 2 hours on TikTok after waking up, reading the news about the latest celebrity drama, which is kind of my guilty pleasure, to be honest. I'm not obligated to do it. I'm not passionate about doing it, and to be honest, I'm not even enjoying it. It's not nurturing my personal relationships. It's not nurturing my self-development. It's not benefiting my health. I'm not getting paid to do it. So scrolling 2 hours on TikTok for me is a huge time waster. What are the things that you spend your time doing that don't add any value to your life? Cut them out. out and replace them with something that is more beneficial, that is more high leverage. So have you ever find yourself working on a bunch of projects all at the same time? Like maybe you were on your phone with your boss while you were replying to your emails, or you were writing your homework in the middle of a university lecture. And despite all of your efforts of trying to get as many things as done as possible, you realize that you actually made a mistake in your mail, or that you forgot to tell something really important to your boss, or that you forgot that you even had another homework, that you overall just made a poor job. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to multitasking. I feel like multitasking has become just really like trendy and cool thing to do in the 21st century. And like the people who multitask always seem to be super proud of the fact that they can multitask. Have you ever had like a classmate at school who was never paying attention to the class, who was always doing something else when the professor was talking, who was either writing another homework or who was just on their phone doing something else? And they always seem to be like so proud of the fact that, oh yeah, I'm doing something I'm not supposed to do. Well, I was that kid in class. Let me tell you, the work I did when I was multitasking was never as good of a quality than the work that I did when I was giving something my full undivided attention. According to scientists, multitasking can decrease productivity by as much as 40%. So even though it might seem like you're saving time, multitasking actually leads to more mistakes, higher our stress levels, and reduces our ability to be more creative and innovative. Now, I'm not saying that there won't be moments in your life where you will have to multitask. There are moments in our lives where things have to be done, and all well for the quality. There are time periods where we will do things for the quantity and not for the quality, and that's okay. But what I'm saying is just that if you know that you have something really important to do, give it your sole undivided focus and care and attention. Don't multitask on things that really matter to you a lot. Like if you have a university dissertation to write, don't write it on your way to the cinema with your friends. Goes back to prioritizing your tasks. What are the things that you could actually multitask on, because the quality of them don't matter that much? Multitask on those and make sure that the rest of the things that you have to get done have your sole undivided care and attention. Nothing beats focus and undivided attention. Look, sometimes life can be really hard. Sometimes even though we have done all the work that is necessary, we did everything in our power, we did everything that we could, life still throws us challenges that we didn't see coming, and sometimes things happen out of the blue. I remember working a corporate job last year while I was also studying at university. I was finishing my degree. I was also working as a content creator at the same time, and they also had a lot of like family drama and family members getting sick left and right, and our pets, like family pets, getting sick left and right, and it was just really tough at some point last year. I remember feeling so extremely overwhelmed with having to go to work every day and handling all the drama and going to the doctor all the time, and I just felt so lost. And I think that if I didn't have a basis and a structure and an inner stability to go back to even when life was difficult, I would have been completely lost. So one thing that really helps me to stay grounded and organized and have a structure in my head is writing things down. And I'm not even talking about things like journaling, even though journaling is extremely powerful, but also just writing down things in the sense of writing down the things that you have to do every single day by hand, not just on your digital computer, but actually with your hand, and writing out how you feel in the moment. Just like seeing things that you have inside of your head written down really can help to clear your mind and have a better sense of direction in your life. Sometimes when I am overthinking a lot, when I can't seem to move forward, when I feel really stuck in my head, I always write. So I just want to say, if you're currently feeling a little bit lost and overwhelmed in your life, start writing things down. How you feel, what do you have to do, what are your anxieties right now? Get things out of your head. Staying in your head for too long is never a good idea. And I think sometimes when you're overthinking things, you really make things more complicated than they really are. So try to write everything down, from how you feel today to what you have to do, and try to break down the things that you have to do to smaller pieces. Even complex, complicated things, start with one step. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. And if you want to know how to achieve deep, unbeatable focus, make sure to watch this video next.